Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is opening a beer. Someone else is pouring a glass of wine. Someone is ordering a cocktail. And most of them probably aren't thinking about what they're actually doing. Because drinking alcohol is one of the oldest behaviors in human history. Older than writing. Older than cities. Older than farming. In fact, alcohol may be older than humanity itself. And if some scientists are correct, alcohol wasn't just a drink that humans invented. It may have helped shape civilization. It may even be one of the reasons civilization exists at all. To understand why, we need to go back long before the first brewery, long before the first village, long before humans even existed. We need to go back millions of years. Around 10 million years ago, the ancestors of modern humans lived in African forests. They spent much of their time searching for fruit. Fruit was valuable because it contained sugar, and sugar meant energy. But there was a problem. In a dense forest, ripe fruit isn't always easy to find. Then something interesting happened. Fruit that fell onto the ground would often begin to ferment. Wild yeast naturally present in the environment would break down the sugars and produce ethanol, the same alcohol found in modern beer and wine. Fermented fruit released a stronger smell than fresh fruit, and according to biologist Robert Dudley's drunken monkey hypothesis, early primates may have evolved to follow that smell, because the scent of ethanol often led directly to calorie-rich food. In other words, alcohol may have originally been a survival signal, not a party, not a celebration, a food detector. And evidence suggests our bodies adapted to it. In 2015, researchers studying a gene called ADH4 discovered that the ancestors of humans and African apes evolved a mutation that dramatically improved their ability to process ethanol. The mutation appeared roughly 10 million years ago, exactly when many primates began spending more time on the forest floor eating fallen fruit. That means our ancestors weren't just accidentally consuming alcohol. They were becoming biologically better at handling it, long before anyone brewed a single drink. For millions of years, alcohol remained a side effect of nature. Then, humans arrived, and eventually, they learned something remarkable. They could make alcohol themselves. For a long time, archaeologists believed farming came first, then alcohol. The story seemed simple. People settled down, started growing crops, built villages, and later discovered fermentation. But over the last few decades, evidence has complicated that story. In 2018, researchers studying residues from stone mortars inside Rockafet Cave in present-day Israel found evidence of beer production dating back roughly 13,000 years. This was not a farming society. The people living there belonged to the Natufian culture. They were still hunter-gatherers. They collected wild grains, they hunted animals. They had not yet developed agriculture, yet they were already brewing beer. Think about how strange that is. Growing grain requires enormous effort. Finding it, harvesting it, processing it, transporting it, and somehow these people decided that turning grain into alcohol was worth the trouble. Why? One possibility is that alcohol was connected to rituals, feasts, ceremonies, community gatherings. In many ancient societies, eating together was important. Drinking together may have been even more important. Alcohol lowers social barriers, encourages bonding, creates shared experiences, strengthens group identity. Those same effects still exist today, just expressed differently. And then there is Göbekli Tepe, one of the most mysterious archaeological sites ever discovered. Built roughly 11,500 years ago in modern Turkey, massive stone pillars weighing several tons, complex carvings, sophisticated planning, all created before the invention of cities, before metal tools, before pottery, before permanent settlements. For years, archaeologists struggled to explain why hunter-gatherers would organize such an enormous project. Then, researchers found large stone vessels capable of holding significant amounts of liquid. Chemical analysis suggested they may have been used for fermenting grain. Some archaeologists believe large communal feasts played an important role at the site. And where there are feasts, alcohol often follows. This led some researchers to propose a provocative idea. What if humans didn't begin farming primarily for bread? What if they began farming because they wanted a more reliable supply of alcohol? The idea remains debated. Not all archaeologists agree. But the fact that serious researchers continue discussing it shows how important alcohol may have been in the origins of civilization. As agriculture spread, alcohol spread with it. Around 7000 BCE, people in what is now China were producing fermented beverages made from rice, honey, and fruit. Chemical analyses of ancient pottery confirmed the ingredients. This is among the earliest direct evidence of intentionally produced alcoholic drinks anywhere in the world. And these weren't crude experiments. The recipes were surprisingly sophisticated. Multiple ingredients, controlled fermentation, careful preparation. People already understood the process. Thousands of years later, alcohol had become part of everyday life across entire civilizations. Ancient Egyptians drank beer regularly. Workers building monumental projects received beer rations. Religious ceremonies included beer. Medical treatments included beer. Even some wages were paid in beer. And there were practical reasons for this. Water sources were not always safe. Fermented beverages often contained fewer dangerous pathogens than untreated water. Beer also provided calories, nutrients, hydration. For many people, it wasn't merely entertainment. It was part of survival. The same pattern appeared elsewhere. The ancient Sumerians had a goddess of beer named Ninkasi. The Greeks honored Dionysus. The Romans worshipped Bacchus. Across continents and centuries, alcohol became woven into religion, trade, politics, celebrations, and social life. Entire cultures built traditions around it. But perhaps the most surprising discovery is that alcohol affects humans in ways that go far beyond intoxication. Modern neuroscience shows that alcohol influences dopamine pathways involved in reward. It affects stress responses, social behavior, emotional bonding, decision-making. In small amounts, it can temporarily reduce social anxiety, which may partly explain why drinking has accompanied human gatherings for thousands of years. The desire wasn't only chemical, it was social. Humans are one of the most cooperative species on Earth, and alcohol often became part of the rituals that helped groups connect. Of course, alcohol also has a darker side. The same substance that helped create celebrations has contributed to addiction, disease, violence, and countless personal tragedies. Ancient societies understood this too. Many historical texts contain warnings about excessive drinking. People have been struggling with alcohol's risks almost as long as they have been consuming it. And yet, despite all of that, alcohol never disappeared, because its story is deeply connected to our own. 10 million years ago, a primate followed the smell of fermented fruit through an African forest. 13,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers brewed beer in a cave. 11,000 years ago, people may have gathered around massive stone monuments to feast and drink together. 7,000 years ago, brewers in China were experimenting with complex recipes. 5,000 years ago, entire civilizations relied on alcohol as part of daily life. And today, billions of people continue a tradition that may be older than civilization itself. When you take a sip of beer, wine, mead, or any other alcoholic drink, you're participating in a story that began millions of years before the first city was built. A story that may have helped shape human history, not after civilization, but possibly before it.